kind of like, what is your definition of kindness, right? Is like telling a fat person they're fat, kind, or unkind. And I tend to bias towards kind. Like nice and kind, like polite and nice and kind aren't all exact synonyms. So it's like if you care for someone, telling them that they're doing something destructive is the nice thing to do or is the kind thing to do. So what do the people call this? Like tough love, right? I haven't encapsulated this into something as concrete as like for every day, right? Like go tell a fat person they're fat for 30 days straight.
Welcome, Lois. It's great to have you on the podcast. What made you laugh the most recently?
Yeah, I came up with a few because I appreciate having the prep because there's certain things I've said this on a few podcasts before. Certain things that you ask people a question and they just remember it right away. It's kind of like the classic people don't remember what they ate for breakfast. It's like why? I don't know. Just the brain doesn't file away that information readily available. And I think that question is something people need to think about for a while before it comes straight to mind. So the heads up was much appreciated. One answer, and this is kind of funny with my outfit, but my family, we've been enjoying watching the show Letterkenny, if you're familiar.
Okay. No, I'm not familiar with
It's
it actually.
you could call it a sitcom, I guess. I don't watch much TV. I only ever watch it with them, and it's kind of redneck Canadian hicks in a small town that have just a couple different like crews, and they're very, I was going to say almost lyrically heavily, very dialogue heavy, just very witty humor. I don't know what
Hmm.
to compare it to because I don't watch much TV, but it's a Canadian small town show where they all, rip on each other. And that's pretty good. And then also I'm just entertained more in like a meta sense by the current meme coin cycle. And there's this guy on Twitter, he's a very wise investor. He was actually the first investor into Robinhood. And he calls this whole economy, he calls it the degenerate economy, which is kind of just this shift that's occurred from sports betting as kind of the form of financial gambling entertainment, slash also just traditional casino play, to investing as financial entertainment, just people trading for fun. And the kind of the meme coin cycle. So like things like obviously there's the traditional joke coins like the Dogecoin, but now there's just millions of them. And so like anything that's funny for a day or two on Twitter, someone creates a meme out of it, and then the it becomes financialized on Solana, and people just try to like buy the joke basically because they think the joke's going to continue to be funny or stay funny. So there's obviously a Pepe coin, and that's become humongous. And then really every other, Peanut the squirrel was a big coin because that was a animal who died that was relevant for the U.S. election, and that was kind of a whole cycle. And so just the whole absurdity of meme coin trading as well as the sheer scale of it. Because you look at some of the market caps and you compare it to like, Doge was a bigger market cap than Ford, right, in the last cycle. Like Ford Motor Cars is, a 100-year-old company, literally, makes I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands of vehicles a year, if not millions of vehicles a year, and you see them everywhere. And it's like, or this funny thing is literally worth more money. And so just the absurdity of that entertains me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And did you buy any by any chance?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of Doge, but I've been in and out. My biggest meme coin position right now is raw milk coin. Yeah, the goal is to use some of the proceeds from the coin to like help support the legalization of raw milk, but it's also just funny.
Okay, interesting. I like how they combined. I think like when something has that consumption and then it also has the usefulness, in terms of like giving back to something that's bigger. It's like it's funny, but it's also helpful. I think it's a nice sweet spot for a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I don't mean to fixate on this, but the in the previous cycle, like the US Constitution was kind of the big. There's like a copy or the original Constitution or something. There was a coin that was raised to like buy the actual, might have been a coin, might have been a DAO. Terminology is not too important for this conversation. But they basically wanted to buy the US Constitution because apparently some just collector had it and they wanted to like put it in a museum. And so, but it was just also just a joke. And that was huge last
wow,
cycle. But anyway, that's
interesting.
some humor
Okay,
as of
cool.
late.
That's now I'm going to start with, I guess, your story and understanding a bit more about your story and what led you to where you are now. Um, you, I've been fascinated by your story because of your diverse interests and the way that you've pursued different pathways and just like it just seems like you've got a broad sense, like a good sense of knowledge in quite a few different fields. So I'm interested, yeah, just in your journey and your story and what led you to where you are now?
Yeah, I think there's an exercise I've done because I am someone who does have a very wide set of interests, and that can be useful later on. It's kind of this, it depends how much like leverage that you have. So like having a diverse set of knowledge isn't that useful unless some environments and circumstances reward different things. It's kind of like if you are, the best swimmer, but you don't live anywhere with water. It's like, okay, well, that's not all that useful. And kind of the same thing. Like a lot of people kind of glamorize like venture capitalists because they're kind of very cool and they're smart and they're pithy and they have a lot of money. And so they kind of try to like replicate their skill set. And so they just like read all these really theoretical books about business theory. Then it's like, okay, well, how much did that actually help you with building a business when you're in your 20s and you have no money? It's like, was that actually useful knowledge? And I think now I'm kind of at a point where it's somewhat as I have a bit more of, you could say like a platform, meaning I have, a lot of employees. So my ability to teach others things can amplify work. Whereas like I just have human effort that I can transfer ideas to and make things happen rather than just myself having a limited time to only do things. And it's like that's a big, big shift. But the story is a very broad term because I could speak for any amount of time on it. But I'd say like professional career story has kind of a few important moments or important plot points that I think led to where I am now. I think in general, one of them was just you have to first kind of be exposed to an idea somewhere to like incept it in your head. And so my freshman year of college, I started reading like productivity books just because I wanted to, one, make really good grades, and I also wanted to be really efficient. And the path I stumbled, I think I was, best, basic Google searches like how to be productive. And then I think one of those was like, well, these are books about how to be productive. It's like, oh, that seems like a useful way to consume information. Let me read one of these books. And then the person who recommended that book also had a whole page of recommended reading lists, right? So it was like, well, if this first recommendation was so useful because I read the book, applied the stuff, and saw a lot of return from it, I bet the rest of his list is. Then the rest of his list was basic, like all your starter kind of entrepreneur starter pack books, like the 4 Hour Work Week, $100 Startup. And this is, 2017. So like the popular books now and then are kind of similar. I think he also, I can't remember if he recommended the MJ DeMarco books, but I read those around the same time, right? The Millionaire Fast Lane
I
and
really like that
Unscripted.
book.
And so reading all those books kind of during my freshman year of college really planted a lot of seeds of like, okay, this is both possible and interesting and desirable. And then so that's kind of the draw towards it. And then some early career experiences where I actually really liked my first internship, but my first very corporate job, because my first internship was at a startup and they were very cool. And I admired a lot of the founders there. But then at my first corporate job, which was at Mercedes-Benz in Alabama, again, it was a really interesting place to work. And again, I think it just represents a different lifestyle than what I wanted. So it's like very small town, rural life. It's like, baseball practice and church and 9 to 5. And like that's like not your baseball practice, but like your kids' baseball practice. Like settle down, go to church, watch your kids play baseball. That's a beautiful lifestyle and it's a great place for that, but that's not at least what I wanted. And the environment's like very slow, very stable as well. But just a corporate mega, I mean, there's like 500,000 employees at Daimler. And so I wasn't in love with my experience there. Like again, I learned a lot and I valued it, but it kind of showed me this isn't a path that I want. I see this is a beautiful place to work for the people who like this, but I wanted like more control. I wanted to feel more important, like a sense of the bigger picture. I felt like again, there's like 80 interns, right? It's like you're one of 80 on the lowest totem pole within the organization. That's actually not quite true. They treated the interns very well. The point is, you're at this facility with 7,000 people coming in and out every day. It's like to rise to the top there to some level of prominence and impact. And I don't know how long that game takes to win. Anyway, I just didn't like how little control I had over my income and things like that. And so that kind of was a bit of a push away from some of the more traditional options. And then while reading the books and all those things, so obviously you're inspired to start a lot of things. You kind of just have bad ideas at first. I tend to use the metaphor, everyone has kind of a different decision making psychology. This is very like pseudoscience. But my business partner, he's very intuitive and very much goes a lot by like gut instinct and will like come to a conclusion like he's kind of like a computer who's ran all the simulations in his head. Whereas I feel like for me it's like a string and like the good ideas are at the end of the string. So I just have to pull all the bad ideas out first. Whereas he like puts everything on like a processor in his head and just like comes to conclusions like I've ran the simulations. I feel like I just have to like pull all the shitty ideas out of my brain before I get to the good ones. And I think that's why a lot of like writers, their advice for writing is just like write a lot, just like get it all out because you just have to get it out. And to get to the good stuff, you just have to get the bad stuff out because it's just in there. It's like you have to warm up. There's just a lot of parallel metaphors for that. So the point is, anyone in any business has to go through kind of some rites of passage, bad ideas. And so some of the stereotype ones, everyone wants to just be an affiliate marketer. Everyone wants to do something related to self-help books because they enjoyed self-help books. In college towns, everyone wants to create a bar or an app that helps you like see if there's a line at the bar in college towns. Like there's all these kind of like low-hanging fruit ideas just based on what is top of mind for people. And so I had to go through those. And then I started my own podcast in March of 2020, which is peak kind of pandemic time. I had expressed interest in it before, and that's probably also true about a lot of other people who chose to start then. You just had the time and the space during those like 2 weeks to have more time and space to like do projects that you wouldn't find the time and space for otherwise. And so that had got me started, and just the original thesis there, because some other thinkers who were very impactful. I mentioned MJ DeMarco, but also David Perel was very impactful at the time because he had really helped me understand the value of producing content and kind of the returns you see from it. And then another person was Nat Eliason. He was a creator who I really admired. And I just saw how they had built audiences that made it so like everything they did seemed successful thereafter. And we all know this from like celebrities, for example. Like a celebrity launches something and it does well because there's just a lot of eyeballs. But also it's true for everyday people, right? You may not be an A-lister, but you have an email list with 10,000 people, 50,000 people who tend to like your ideas, and maybe you tend to launch projects successfully very quickly. Another example of that is Taylor Pearson, who just blogged for a long time about like Nassim Taleb's books, and then people were like, you have good ideas, you should raise a fund, and then you raised a fund. And so I was like, it seems like if I have a distribution of business owners in my audience, then I'll be successful with whatever it is I do. It doesn't really matter what I'm doing yet because I don't have any good idea. And so there's a lot of like hard learned, not even hard learned lessons in hindsight, just lessons that I had to come to grips with, which is like starting something you want to start something isn't necessarily a good idea. Starting something because there's a well-defined problem is a good idea. Like I think a lot of just maturing in any discipline is realizing.
I'm really curious
Mhm.
with that. How would you define a well-defined problem?
Yeah, and so I'll finish the one point and then I'll answer
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah.
question.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
and I appreciate the interruption because I could talk forever. The maturing in any discipline is just realizing that you can't ignore the fundamentals. Like I think in like there's a thing of advanced techniques, but in almost everything's just like, oh, this is actually really essential. So like everything you've heard in school, like they say a lot of like the knowledge is useless, but it's also just it's useless because it's so abstract and you have nothing to contextualize it to. But then you kind of come to the same conclusion that's like, oh, actually that is like the right framework for this, and this fundamentals are true. And so anyway, they always say like entrepreneurship 101 is like find a problem and solve it, and that is just the truest part of it. There's other paths where you can just obviously create new desired value. It's kind of the vitamins versus painkillers. It's like, did Apple solve a problem, or they just made something really cool and people wanted it, and it created a new opportunity? There's I'm not here to break down everything in reality. The A well-defined problem. I'll give you an example. A business we started was called Instant Chapters, and what it did and what it still does is you put in a YouTube video link and it gives you chapters, timestamps for your videos. And so the problem was that that was something that's difficult to do. So for you to do that, you have to have context of the entire episode. So you have to kind of know what happened. And you have to be able to summarize, right, every 2 to 3 minute interval with something intelligent about it. Right. First minute, Lewis and Liam talk about the background. Minutes 30 through 35, they talk about tennis, right? 45 through 60, they talk about dogs, whatever. Like you have to watch the interview. It takes you a long time. And something I was never doing, and something I was paying an overseas editing team to do, but they didn't have native English skills, so they would always kind of make mistakes, or it just wouldn't. It would just come out as poor quality work. So it's something that was important to be done that was resource expensive. It's like that's a problem, right? Same thing with like another kind of thing a lot of people think about. Like business isn't just about having a well-defined problem. You also have to be able to solve it economically, right? So a lot of college students will be like, oh, we should create a laundry service, right? So like there's a lot of like laundry service businesses. It's just the amount of money people are willing to pay versus how much money it takes to deliver the service of like going around to the dorms and collecting the laundry, and just the inconvenience factor. It doesn't actually work out that often. Um, but the opportunity was that like, let's say I was paying someone $10 an hour to do this, but now you can use the software and it's $10 a month to do it. And so instead of paying $40 a month, now you pay 10. And I was able to do it efficiently because obviously everything that was going on with AI. So well-defined problems just you can articulate it. Like If I
I think
ask
it's
you, you have
just from what you're saying, I feel like I can clearly see it as well.
hmm
It's not it's like sometimes it's just like a feeling, but it's like I can see the like I can visualize it. Like if I had a camera and and I filmed someone, it's
yeah,
like I can see this person's having this issue and they're doing this thing and it's not really leading to the outcome that they want. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you'll hear on like a Shark Tank or any other kind of just business interaction, like, why do people need this? If someone has an answer to that, there's a well-defined problem. If it's like, well, because, then it's like, okay, well, like we created, an example of a business that we tried to start that didn't really do well was we wanted to create like an affiliate marketing blog store called the Productivity Store, where we just like sell things relate that would make you more productive. So, like a computer ergonomic stand and like chairs and folders and notebooks and software and all this stuff. Like it's nice, but like no one's really like people do have the problem of like I want to be more productive, but it's just like no one's saying I'm not productive because no one put together a store that like lists a bunch of like that might be still useful, but in terms of like rapid demand. And so one example and kind of how this hit home for me was, I mentioned I started the podcast over the years. We did like 200 plus episodes, and I would hear stories that sounded so different between entrepreneurs who started a business based on something they wanted to create versus entrepreneurs who started a business based on a problem. And that's typically when they start a business on accident, because they're not looking to start a business, they're looking to solve a problem. And because they solved a problem, now they have a product. And one example that is one of my favorites is there's an app in the US called Corsical, and it helps college students plan their schedules. And the founder, was very technical. Like he's one of those people who knew how to program since he was in middle school, and he just did not want to take any classes at 8 a.m. because he didn't want to wake up early. And so he basically built a notification system that would scan the school scheduling website and notify him anytime a seat was available in the class he wanted, because it's very competitive at these universities to get the classes you want. It would notify him the second a seat was open so he could get off the wait list and get the classes he wanted so he didn't have to wake up early. So the problem was like you have to refresh constantly the website to get the class versus now you get a notification. And so he built that, and then obviously every other student on campus wanted it, and then every student at every other college campus wanted it, and now it's a very healthy business. And so there's many examples of that versus I don't have as many examples of the other ones because just very rarely they don't very they're less likely to succeed as businesses. Right? But someone's like, oh, I want to just create this because it's fun. And that's like what Etsy's for, right? It's like, okay, this is a nice gift idea, and it might like those businesses work. I'm just very much someone who wanted like a very the reason people end up in traditional careers is the predictability and the clarity of the course. So yeah, you get a job, now you're making money there. You do better at the job, you get a promotion, or you'll be qualified for better jobs once you have that experience. It's a there's a quote from the book The One Thing by Gary Keller from Keller Williams. It's like we're, and I'll paraphrase, but we're, blocked in life not by obstacles, but by a clear path to lower goals, right? It's like there's not actually obstacles to these ambitious goals. We just don't have clarity about how we do them. And so we don't try to walk the uncertain course. And I think that's why a lot of like what I've been able to do through podcasting is build what feels like a deterministic, clear path to entrepreneurship. It's like, and so that's why the agency model makes so much sense because it's like, well, I'm not actually starting a new business. I'm just creating a proven business model. So it's not like, will this work? Of course it works, right? It's like there's a million agencies and they all work. Um, they have an upper limit, right? They can only get so big because of the simplicity and some of the constraints. But like that from podcasting, I was like, okay, if I want to be an entrepreneur as a career, what can I do? It's like, well, you can start an agency because it's just freelancing. And freelancing is a much more proven model than like, I'm going to invent something that's never been done before. I'm going to have a brand new idea that may or may not work versus I have an in demand service and I'm good at it. Therefore, people who need it will hire me, and then I'll get a good reputation and I'll get referrals and I'll raise my rates and then I'll hire people to do the work for me and I'll have more time to get more clients and then I'll build that to be a big system. And so that's kind of been my vision is like, and obviously this is a very abbreviated version of the story. I didn't just like graduate college, start an agency the next day. There was a lot of like messy middle type time, right? Like in between steps where you're figuring things out and go the wrong direction for a bit of time.
What would you
But
say
ultimately,
what
mhm.
would you say within that was one of your the main messes that you most struggled with for a while that now you feel like you've gone through, or like you've like I guess I was reading on your blog and
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of it, is like your mess becomes your message. A lot of
Hmm.
sometimes, like sometimes, I don't know, to caveat that, I was reading, say, the founder of Lululemon, Chip
Hmm.
Wilson's book, and like he didn't really have yoga pants spandex problem, with because he loved yoga, but it wasn't like his thing, and he wasn't creating it for himself at the start. So I do think it does have a caveat, but I think in general, um, yeah, the mess often does become the message when someone solves it.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be uninspired or to demotivate people from like taking big swings and trying to like innovate and create something brand new. That's not my message at all. My message is like I want to succeed. I want to have a baseline income as an entrepreneur. Like I want
Hmm.
to be able to be an entrepreneur, which means I need some level of income coming from my own businesses. And it's a lot easier to start that with something proven. And then now I have this base where I'm chill, I'm good, I'm fine. And now I can go try to be innovative without having to worry about paying rent. And
Yeah.
so it's just a sequencing problem. Um, because you're right, that like my goal is not to say all businesses are just people solving problems. Plenty of them are just like cool new ideas. They just genuinely invent something fun and desirable, and now everyone wants it. Um, but anyway, the an example of like the mess becoming the message, and what's funny about that is it's just this kind of whole framework and whole preference. You could maybe get like a whole ENTJ personality type, you know, mapping of this. Is I'm someone who just really prefers like a predictable situation. And so in terms of content marketing, what's proven to work is like, hey, I had this problem and this solved it for me. So now we know for a fact that that information is going to be useful to anyone else with that problem versus just like
Hmm.
I just wrote this fiction book because I think it's a good story. Again, people still buy that, but I'm in the business of only right now wanting to sell things that I know are going to sell. I only want to publish things that I know are going to hit. So I'm only going to publish things that are like, I had this problem, I did this, now it's not a problem anymore. I know there's no question that that's going to be extremely useful to everyone with that same problem. And so that's like in terms of this idea of like your mess becomes your message, you've literally, on a smaller scale, taken the same framework. I had this problem, I did this, I don't have this problem anymore. That is going to resonate with every person who still has that problem. And in terms of what my situation was, I'd say the messiest phase was really just coming right out of school and wanting to go straight into business because I was like, I think I know enough. I've interviewed 100 plus entrepreneurs. I've got a lot of good ideas. I've read a lot of books, right? And then not really having any clarity on like which business to start. Like I had ideas about freelancing, but there's no urgency. Like I didn't have debt to go to school and I was living at home, so my expenses were very low. Like I didn't have to buy anything or do anything. I could just hang out in the backyard. I didn't want to do that forever, but it's like I had no expenses and I had no income. But whatever, you can do that for a long time because it's a even math equation. So I just had no urgency, no like motivation to like make something happen. I was like, I've worked hard, let me just chill for a little bit. And I was just kind of waffling with a lot of projects. So I could try this. And then, after a day or two, you obviously didn't make $1 million from it. And you're like, well, maybe I'll move on to the next thing. And so what eventually got me out of that was just creating urgency. So like moving somewhere where I had to pay rent. So whatever savings I did have would dwindle very quickly. So it's like I'm not getting like cheap rent either. It was like 1650 a month, and this was in 2021. I had no income, so it's like that. Plus, you have to pay rent and food and whatever the fuck else. And so it's like, okay, now I have to figure things out quickly. And same thing, I was like, well, I don't know how to start a business within this limited of time and make it sustainable to cover my costs. So I was like, let me just work and get experience doing something. And I had narrowed it down to the crypto industry, um, specifically Bitcoin. But I don't know if at that time I was Bitcoin only as much as I am now. Obviously, I still dabble in memes, but as like serious investing, Bitcoin only. And I was like, I'll just pick this industry. And kind of another thing is you just want to busy yourself productively. Like you can't always solve every problem, right? It's like say, I don't know if I have a great example for this, but like the career problems. It's like you can't solve your career problem today. You can't start the business. Oh, you can start the business today, but you can't build the business that's successful in one day. So it's like just do stuff. Um, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like you just to get to step 10, you can't step. It's impossible to skip steps 1 through 9. It's like
Yeah, and different problems have different
mhm,
time intervals that they sometimes
exactly,
take to get solved. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So then like once the problem's there, then it's like often the patience to just keep solving that problem every day in that specific way that would be useful to solve an even. Yeah, it's yeah, interesting. Um, no, I like. Thanks for sharing so openly with all the different
Hmm.
pathways and the non-linear journey, because I definitely feel that I found that, yeah, the clarity of the next step is often the thing, and it's like what is I will often say like vague terms if it's not clear versus like say if I'm like, okay, I need to build a team. It's like, what does that look like? Okay, the first step is often I need to message this specific person. And then it's like, okay, now I'm into action versus like I need to build a team. It's like chunking that bigger step down into those micro things or so. And that makes sense. Like if you're building a business and you have that well-defined problem, those micro steps become a lot more clear. Um,
Hmm.
Cool. So,
Yeah, the kind of
yeah,
mental note or hook I have for that is just action produces information. Come up with that. I just heard it once and I kept it.
yeah. Now with, I guess the three
Hmm.
questions or three experiments. The first experiment was around what someone can do, what you think someone can do to create more joy or fun in their lives, and sort of create if you were going to give that as a recommendation or something that's helped you experience more of the feeling of like just fun or joy or play. Um,
Yeah, I have several notes here. So one, I did get a dog recently. That's a big life change. One, you just have to go outside every morning versus like, I was traveling, so I had him at the dog sitter, and it's just crazy how much your habits change with the dog or without the dog. So one day I had him at the sitter, and I didn't go outside until 3 p.m. Like I just not get fresh air until 3 p.m. that day. And I woke up at like 7 or 8 a.m. And I like living in a house, right, that like has a backyard right now. It's like I don't have to like go down an elevator. Like there's nothing stopping me from, and like it's nice outside and sunny. Still, just like did not step outside until 3 p.m. And I think just like getting outside and, as they say, touching grass is good for you. And so now when I have the dog, it's like every day within 5 minutes of waking up, I'm at least outside for like 5 to 10 minutes. And that helps a ton. Get the fresh air, see the sun, realize you're like not stuck in a box. That's just a very easy one. Then also the dog just naturally introduces a lot of play. Because you see the dog and you're like, he needs to play. You're like in bed and he starts playing. And you're like, okay. So like it's literally just like someone reminding you to play and to go outside. And to also exercise more. So that's good. Just like mental health boost, and then kind of puts you in a better frame of mind for everything. And then the other one for remote workers is literally just human connection, right? So like I live alone right now. Well, I'm visiting family, but like I live alone in Arizona, and I do not like it at all. And so I mean, it's like that's the opposite for me at least. As an extrovert, it's not good. And so like when I have friends come visit, that helps a ton. But so really just like what I wrote down in my notes, right, Apple Notes was just like human connection. So for my company, we recently started using a tool called Gather, which is like virtual office software. And it's like metaverse style. When I say metaverse, it's like 8-bit, right? It's a very simple video game style interface where everyone's sitting at a desk. And basically the way it works, if like you walk into the radius of someone else, it just automatically starts a video call. And so it just has made us have a lot more of a online synchronous collaborative culture just because we are a distributed team. We're not in a position to like pay people relocation bonuses or offer them like more money to like come work in a specific place and upgrade their lives. And so this, in the meantime, has really significantly changed the amount of human interaction I have on a daily basis, which sounds crazy, but it's like, look, I'm like single guy, live alone, work remote. So like you have to, nothing happens on accident. You have to like leave the house every day. So I mean, what I would say, my final conclusive thought on this one is literally just like find a reason to leave your house every single day, aside from a dog walk. Like go to some one single activity, one single appointment, whatever. Also hosting events is great. That's like a big life hack superpower. I did a podcast with Nick Gray. I've met him. We hosted a party together once. As hosting events is the other big one. Like it could just be bringing what I've been doing lately is getting like other remote workers Friday morning at a outdoor bagel coffee shop to just bring your laptops and hang out and work for 3 hours. Founders, coffee and bagels co-working. We've done this will be our third one. People are loving it. It's beautiful weather. Just sit outside and just hang out with people in the presence of other people. Like just all of my answers are just like stop being lonely.
I found I found that working remotely, uh, it's weird because yeah, at school, it's like a lot of these systems at uni are inbuilt, and as you say, then when you
Yep.
get older, you got to train yourself.
And also in high school,
Um,
right, as well. Like
yeah.
obviously in schooling up until then.
Okay, now second experiment. If you were gonna more, I guess first one they can kind of link together oftentimes, but the second
Hmm.
one is around becoming a better person. So and improve like sort of life improvement. So if you were gonna give an experiment for someone to do where you felt like if they did it, um, it would most help them become a better person. It could be something that you've noticed or you've done. And I guess better person can be a vague term, but you can take it where you want it to go.
Yeah, I think super cliche answer here is just 75 hard. I think, I've done it fully through the 75-day version twice. And then there's
Okay.
also side challenges as well. There's like technically phase zero is 75 hard, and there's a phase one, phase two, phase three. So the full cycle once, where you do within a 365-day period, the 75 days, and then three separate 30-day follow-ups spaced throughout the year. And then I did it again in January of this year, the full 75 hard. And then I also did phase one in maybe like August. And then, so there's a lot to that. And then there's also what I've been successful with. And I
For people
borrowed
who
the term.
don't know what it is, could you go into the details of what 75 hard is?
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
get to
cool.
that. And then what I did, there's someone named Danny Miranda. Are you familiar with Danny Miranda?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You'd like him, I think. He's a podcaster, Twitter person and entrepreneur. And he's very mindful, very much into like spirituality and breath work and things like that. And anyway, he also is very into like consistent output challenges, and I would call that a daily commitment. And so he did like a 100-day YouTube vlog earlier this year, where he just like put up a 8-minute talking head, just him monologue vlog to the camera, 100 days straight, and no days off, no weekends. I think there's a very big difference in terms of these challenges that are no days off, no weekends versus the challenges that are days off and weekends, because you just exit the obsessive arc of like focusing on the challenge. And since it's for a short enough period of time, so anyway, I borrowed this term from him because 75 hard, and I'll get to what the specific pieces are, is for 75 days straight, there's six things you have to do every single day. In theory, well, not even in theory. To do the challenge, by its full merits. You need to do all six every day with no mistakes, no exceptions, every single day. And the idea is that if you miss any of them on any day, you start over at day zero. So you have to have a 75-day streak of perfection at the challenge. And a lot of people hear the challenge and hear the six daily things, and they're like, well, I like that, but I don't want to do that. And that's fine. Then you're just not doing 75 hard. You're doing your own self-designed 75-day challenge. And the idea is that 75 hard teaches you a lot of things, right? It is we brought this up because of the better person experiment. It teaches you to be consistent, teaches you like everything works. There's this kind of like, people have this people, YouTube videos like, is e-commerce dead? Is dropshipping dead? Is SEO dead? Are newsletters dead? Are Facebook ads dead? Is blah, it's like, no, none of those things are dead. Well, I don't know anything about dropshipping. But no, specifically marketing channels are like, is it too late to start an Instagram account? Is it too late to start a podcast? Is it too late to blah 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 blah? And like, how many people, since you've been asking that question, have started successful XYZs? It's like everything works if you do the work. It's like, does going to the gym work? Does lifting weights work? Like, all these things work if you do them correctly. Where they stop working is when you, as someone who doesn't know anything about the thing, decide that you're smarter than the person who wrote the instruction manual and you're going to change it to work for you. It's like, well, it's not going to work for you because you changed the rules. So what 75 Hard teaches you is, as a beginner in anything, as an apprentice, as a novice, doing something exactly as you are told. Like you're trying to lose weight, so it puts you on a diet, and you're like, well, I'm going to follow their diet except for the parts I feel like changing. Then it's not going to work. And versus you adhere to something exactly as prescribed for the full time, no exceptions. It teaches you a lot of humility in terms of like, and not just like in the abstract virtuous sense of like, it's good to be humble. No, it's like humility in the practical sense. I think if anyone's gathered one thing about me from this podcast, I mean, yeah, I have like aesthetic virtues, like I believe in like beauty for beauty's sake, but for the most part, I'm like practical to a fault as well. And so when I say this teaches you humility, it teaches you practical humility, which is like if you want to be effective at something, you need to be humble enough to like accept that the fundamentals are true and that you know less about the thing than the thing does, than the experts. You, as someone who, I don't care how good of grades you got, how good you were at this other thing, you just don't know anything yet about this other thing. So maybe as a beginner, you just like listen to the expert without asking too much questions. And the takeaway for all of that is that with 75 hard, one, going through the basics is really good because you just learn the humility, you learn the consistency, and you get a heightened level of awareness into where you would make an excuse. Because once you commit to 75 hard and like you commit to it, you actually see it through. And what happens day to day is like you obviously don't feel like doing the things. It's late at night, you don't want to read the book, you have to do another workout, it's cold outside and it has to be an outdoor workout, and you just decide to do it anyway. And so you listen, you gain perspective into a moment. You're like, this is somewhere where if I didn't have the commitment of 75 hard, I would have quit. I didn't want, like yesterday, I wanted to go to the gym. I didn't go. No good reason. Besides like the, um, it's Thanksgiving in the US yesterday and the gym's 24/7, but I don't have a membership. I'd have to buy a guest pass. And I was like, well, maybe it's not staffed. It's just members can key in. So I don't want to go if there's no one there and then make the round trip. And so that was why I didn't go yesterday. That was the excuse. And then I just didn't end up working out at all. If it was 75 hard, I would have gone 100% because I just didn't have a choice. But it's like I still would have had the same resistance, like, oh, I might be wasting my time, whatever, whatever. But I get there, and then whatever would have happened, I don't know. And if they didn't, I just would have, like, I don't know, done something else because I didn't have an excuse. So you have this, your inner devil that tries to discourage you from doing the positive thing. You just watch yourself beat it 75 days in a row, and that makes you stronger. And what I've done every single time I've tried it after 75 hard, there was a lot of nonsense. There was a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of like stuff that like feels useless. It's like, why do I need two workouts? It's too much training. I need to work out once a week. I don't want to, I still want to drink alcohol. I know how to drink moderately. I don't want to be sober for 75 days. Um, and so what I did was a self-design. I finally succeeded this year doing my own self-designed version, which is like, I'm going to write my own rules for 30 days. I'm not going to like follow the abstract framework. I'm going to come up with my own parameters and I'm going to follow them letter of the law as strictly as I would if it was 75 hard. And so I don't remember if I did it twice this year successfully or once, but it was my first time ever doing a self-designed 30-day challenge as perfectly as 75 hard, right? 30-day streak, no exceptions, no mistakes of like a few habits I was working to build.
And what were those habits? What were the specifics that you did? Or
Yeah, I realized.
what are the
Mhm.
specifics within 75 hard, and then what are the specifics within your own self-designed ta challenge?
Yeah, so there's about three loose threads here, so we can weave them together. That's what Trump says. He
Okay.
likes to weave. He doesn't ramble, he weaves. And the weaving is that Danny Miranda, he called that challenge just he created a school group or some other community platform for people doing 75 hard, and he named the group My Daily Commitment because that's what it is. It's your daily commitment to yourself. And so for him, his commitment was I'm going to make a YouTube video every day. For me, so I titled. I think part of the reason I failed at the self-design challenges in the past was I just never had a concept for it. I never had a name for it. So I called it the My Daily Commitment Round One is what I called it. And so that I think helped me succeed. 75 hard is six things, right? You have to do two workouts a day, 45 minutes, non-consecutive. One of them has to be outside. Again, not everyone's getting 14 good workouts in a week. You can take a walk. Andy says you're not really supposed to do yoga. I'm not sure. Yoga is mixed opinions on, but I've done some hot yoga and it's been hot. But yeah, 45 minutes of exercise twice a day, not supposed to be consecutive. And then drink a gallon of water, read 10 pages of nonfiction, take a progress picture, don't drink any alcohol, and then follow a diet. You can set your terms for what the diet is, but set a diet, write the parameters out, and then don't break the diet. I think, again, to do 75 true, he'd say your diet can't be like, well, I get at least one donut a day, right? Like your diet should be a real diet. But that's like what a lot of people do insert some flex into the program. So for me, I usually just do something like, when I'm eating at home, nothing with more than 1 gram of added sugar, and I'll like only whole foods. And then I'll also list like specific exceptions. So like I'll be like whey protein powder. I don't consider that a whole food, but I've decided at the outset that that is okay. And when I go to restaurants, nothing fried, and then I'll call like nothing, no, nothing fried, no desserts, because you can't be perfect at restaurants, right? Like don't eat like you can read the label on the ketchup. But anyway, so mine was self-designed. I think it was at least 15 minutes of exercise a day, of any kind. Um, one focus mate session at least. And I didn't have to do this on the weekend. So again, under my own parameters, it was focus mate session if it's a weekday, and then I think three power list tasks, which is basically every night write out three specific things I need to do for work. Um, that could be like watch this video, send this email, get my inbox to zero, whatever, and then complete them every day with no exceptions. And then I don't think I did any reading. And then 10 minutes of dog training, like 10 minutes of like I set a 10-minute timer and do 10 minutes of dog training. So it's like dog training, exercise, focus mate, three important work tasks, and then also a diet.
Cool. Yeah, no, I like the. I've written the last newsletter that I wrote was on a self experiment for like 30 days. So um, I've definitely felt the benefits. I think that's very cool. Yeah, I was curious around the 45 minutes each day of exercise because
Twice.
twice, yeah, twice. So that for me, I guess my first reaction is I don't want to get injured, you know? It's like
Mhm.
I don't want to, but how did you find that specifically doing two sets of 45 minutes of
Yeah,
exercise?
I wrote a blog post about this in 2020 when, and that sounds so long ago. Um, that was my first time doing the challenge. And it's like I was like train like you're 50 or something was what I wrote. Oh, and then I'll add one more thing for my diet. I said no nicotine and then up to 2 drinks. So I like wasn't sober, but I could have a maximum of 2 drinks. And the yeah, like I said, it's walks. So I did a lot of like reading on the bike, just like stationary bike, very safe, very slow. Stationary bike, walks, dog walks, not like in the gym lifting heavy for 90 minutes a day,
Yeah,
maybe
okay,
like
that was
four
my
times a
first
week.
impression
Yeah.
when I first,
So go to
yeah.
yoga class, my apartment building, there's a yoga studio. They have an instructor come every couple of weeks. I would do that whenever there was an opportunity. I never swam, but I had a pool. I could have swam. But yeah, mostly just walks. It was summer in Arizona, so just go for a walk, AirPods, no shirt, call someone on the phone, walk around the city, come back, absolutely soaked. And then,
Yeah.
yeah.
The final experiment is around creating a better world. So
hmm
I could jump into some of your polarized, what's it, some polarizing opinions that nobody asked
Yep.
for, which I highly recommend someone check out on your website because I
Did I
found them
delete
pretty
that or is it
interesting.
still there?
I think it's still there.
Let's go.
Um, but I was just gonna say, like, what is an experiment that someone could do, or if you think people did, would help create a better world?
Yeah, I think you kind of did some foreshadowing with the polarizing opinions no one asked about. But I feel like if we want to go on like a Jordan Peterson rant for a second here, um, just speaking your mind is like there's a whole I wrote a newsletter about this as well. There's a song called What the Hell by Akira the Dawn. And it's basically just saying like the dangers of not speaking your mind. Um, I think that somehow this like weird thing happened where and there's kind of all these like political charts that Elon Musk will post that's like the center stayed the center, the right stayed the right, then the left has gone way left. And that's kind of been like the political changes over the past whatever 10, 15 years. And that's just because people it's kind of like what is your definition of kindness, right? Is like telling a fat person they're fat, kind or unkind. And I tend to bias towards kind. Like nice and like polite and nice and kind aren't all exact synonyms. So it's like if you care for someone, telling them that they're doing something destructive is the nice thing to do or is the kind thing to do. So what do the people call this? Like tough love, right? Like I think I haven't encapsulated this into something as concrete as like for every day, right? Like go tell a fat person they're fat for 30 days straight. Um, but I would
So my
certainly
mute, my mic was on mute there, but I just wanted to laugh at that one. That was good.
um that's the 30-day challenge is like
That's your challenge, mate. I reckon that's it.
yeah the but that is some of it, right? It's just like I think there's a lot of shit that was fucking crazy that no one was like, hey, you're crazy, like you need to chill with that. It's kind of like there's this take and this is going to get like into there's pseudoscience and there's pseudo social science, but all social science is kind of pseudo social science because they don't replicate the studies a lot of the time, but also sounds like a bro science like analysis. But the point of this is there's this tweet and like I think there's a kernel of truth in it, maybe a big kernel, which is just like they kind of banned bullying in the schools in the States. Um, and then like 10 years later, everyone's fucking crazy. And it's like, okay, why did that happen? It's because like when kids were doing weird shit that you weren't allowed to tell them they were being fucking weird. So like I don't totally know. There's this that I don't have like as well polished of a viewpoint, but I just think this culture of like it's kind of like the whole forest fire thing, right? If you never let forest fires happen, then like every 20 years there's just a forest fire that destroys the whole forest versus just clearing the brush. Like we had these kind of natural systems in society that kept things in check, right? And like some of them might seem ugly and seem rude, but like you watch movies, right, about like the corporate environment and like the boss is yelling at the people and there's like this hierarchy and the organization's very like status driven and like the everyone's afraid of the boss and they're like rude to like, the young employees and like I'm not saying that's good, but like and I'm not saying I like wish I could be meaner to my employees, but it's like if someone sucked, you could tell them they sucked. If someone's work was shit, you could tell them, hey, dude, this is shit. And like now you kind of have to be all nice about it. And I think that's just in general, like the whole, again, participation trophy type thing, like just telling stuff. And it's like the whole thing. There's this documentary about called The Death of Beauty. That's kind of also a similar, it speaks like the same kind of like, I don't know, um, the same web of ideas, let's say. And, you have all these people going through art school getting decent grades who like don't have actual talent. Like when I say talent, I mean like cultivated skill. It's like their ability to make an intricate painting isn't there. Um, or their ability to sculpt. And so that like the best art of the past 30 years is like, the banana taped to the wall, right? Which is just like doesn't display skill. It's like clever, but it's not that clever. It's just like making a cheap joke about like the decay of society versus like again looking at someone who's painted. I went to some museum in the like there's this Mexico City has its equivalent of Central Park. Whatever Central Park is in Mexico City, it's called like Chapultepec Park or something, and it's humongous. And there's like this art museum there, and the whole like what's the word for it? The walls have these murals that are just like so insane. I'm like that takes talent and skill, and it's remarkable, and like the amount of human effort required to make this thing is unbelievable. Same thing with like the temples in Thailand. Then you look at like American art, and it's like we told like these are people who are graduating college and allowed to become adults but like someone should have like failed them in art class. So I don't totally know what like I just think I'm pro team tough love, and I think telling people that their work is good when it's not good is a disservice to them. Telling people that they look good when they don't look good is a disservice to them. There's obviously a time and place where it's like if someone's down, you don't want to kick them when they're down, but like finding the conversation to be like, hey man, like between us girls here, you need to um like the reason you're having these issues is because of this. Um, like I knew someone who was very into, a certain trendy identity of the day, and I was like, I guarantee that I was like, listen, if you want, like, there's a whole pronoun thing, right? I was like, if you want me to use your pronoun, like, I didn't want to use this person's pronouns because I'm like, you're a woman, and this is a fad, for you. Maybe there's other people that like have a serious whatever. I was like, you specifically, I know you, and this isn't going to last more than 8 months. Um, and I don't think this is doing any favors for you. Like this is not making your life better. This isn't you solving your problem. Maybe there's other people who like actually that's a real thing, but for this particular person, I knew enough context to be like, this isn't the thing for you. And I thought about making this wagers to them. It's like, look, if you can run a 5K in 25 minutes, which isn't even that fast, right? I'm not saying I know I could. I don't know if I could drop one right now, but I could within like 6 weeks of training, right? Um, if you can run a 25-minute 5K, I will use your they them pronouns. But I'm just so convinced that this is just because of other issues in your life that getting fit would resolve. You're trying to solve the problem by going around the problem, but it's like the shortest path is the direct path. So being direct with people, being confrontational, having uncomfortable conversations, giving out tough love. I think that's my vote of the day.
Yeah, no, I resonate with this because the challenge that I'm doing currently is an integrity cleanse because I saw Tim Ferriss talk with I think it's Martha Beck. I'm trying to remember her name, but basically what she would do is you'd write down in a journal like anytime you feel you didn't speak truthfully to someone or
Yep.
even but then she took her question to another level, which was um, what did I do today that I didn't really want to do or anything that I say that I didn't really mean to say, and then
Mm.
like taking stock of that. And then what I've tried to do is gone, okay, now what would I say there instead? So next time, and then kind of replay in my mind myself going through and doing that activity or being confrontational. So it's almost like I'm trying to build that mental loop in my brain of like what's the word? I'm capable of doing that task or
Yes.
dealing with that
Just the
uncomfortable.
mental rehearsal, right?
Yeah, yeah. So okay, that's interesting. Would you, if you were going to give someone a challenge, it could be like talk to three people right now, who you know you meant to have an uncomfortable conversation with. I don't know if you were going to give it a concrete
Yeah. So I can give a
thing.
few. Um, and again, there's ways to like be subtle, which is like sending someone like, hey, you should download Strava, and like maybe that'll make them start running. Versus like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm signing up for this race. Do you also want to sign up for it? Right? It's like there's no. and this is where I have like mixed opinions on like, are we just wasting time by not just like calling them straight up and being like, listen, man, you're just overweight, versus like, hey, do you want to run this 5K together in a couple weeks? And like, you're just kind of going around the point. One
Mm-hmm.
is so one action item is I think specifically in the workplace, or it doesn't really matter. In any relationship, and relationship, right, just means like two people relating to each other. Like in any relation, it could be family, could be a work relationship, could be a friend relationship, just someone that you have a regular interaction with. I think just like not even like being petty and like making a list of things, but like these people do things that bother you, and just like don't let the next one slide. Just like and don't be like don't explode about it. But like don't let the next one slide and be like, because sometimes right there's obviously like if you're in a group setting and you're in a meeting, like you don't want to start that you always blah 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 like in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But just next time you have that person one on one, or even just like hey one on one, like hey just want to let you know this has been bothering me. I haven't said anything about it because like it's not that big of a deal. I don't think you mean anything bad by it, but it's been annoying as heck. You gotta stop, or we gotta talk about it. And so I do that with my business partner all the time, just because we annoy each other because we work really closely together and have different opinions about like the small things, and so we let things slide. And then eventually, we used to let them. There's kind of this like metaphor, like you let sand get in the gears, and then eventually the gears stop turning. And so we try to clean. You can let some sand get in the gears and they still turn, but you have to like clean it out, do spring cleaning. Same metaphor as the forest fire. But we used to do that like once every 6 months, and it's pretty explosive to clear it out, versus doing it like every 2 weeks, and it's just like mildly uncomfortable. But then
What does
there's
that
no
look
blow
like
ups.
when you clear it out? Do you just say, okay, we're gonna have this chat now to just talk about anything that's bothering
Well,
us?
now
Like,
we
how
kind of
do you?
have an awareness of it, so now we're like, in like a good territory where it's like, hey, we need to have one of those conversations. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we do. Um, and then, but at the beginning, in one, you can just be very direct and ask for it, and just say, just we're mature adults here. Like, there's some stuff that's going on that's bothering me. None of it's been 10 out of 10 bad. Otherwise, I would have brought up sooner. But I think it'd be wise and proactive for us both to clear some of that out. Can we, put 20 minutes on the calendar to go through it? Or if you are just one, you can just bring it up. Like if they specifically do the thing, if you, as the person listening to this, have like the mental bandwidth and self control to like very slowly, um, be like, hey, can we stop for a second here? Like if they do the thing, like, hey, can we stop for a second? And I don't want to sound like, I want to make a fine line here between like snowflake culture, which I kind of just like want to rant about. This isn't being a
Mm-hmm.
snowflake. This is just asserting boundaries, right? It's like the same thing as like you play with your dog and you play with him too aggressively, then all of a sudden he growls at you and barks and like bites you. It's like that's your fault, not the dog's fault. He warned you. That's just standing up for yourself and asserting boundaries. This is just someone's doing something that's not like that just feels disrespectful and you've just been letting pass or whatever. It's just standing up for yourself. Um, and again, that's the same thing bullying was supposed to teach you was like stand up for yourself, and then they stop. But I'm not like pro bullying. Like I just like saw like one thread about it. I'm like cautiously open to the idea that we went too far with the wholesale ban of it. Leaning towards thinking, I don't know. I haven't spent enough time thinking about it. But yeah, I think the action item is just like either one is someone's like really been getting on your nerves and it's been building. Maybe just get the conversation versus if it's minor stuff starting to build, snip it in the bud.
Cool. I like it, and I like the next. Don't let the next one slide as the
Yeah.
as the phrase.
It's
That's
not about
nice.
getting even. This isn't like about you're not supposed to take joy in this. Like you can be proud of yourself for like standing up for yourself in a certain boundary, but this isn't meant for you to like get one on someone else. This is just you. It's a self-respect thing. Not a this is not like a competition. This is just someone else you weren't enforcing your boundaries and now you're going to start enforcing your boundaries and that'll increase your self-respect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But not like
Um,
get the next one slide like oh I'm not going to let him get it. It's not about like hostility. There's no superiority. It's just like, no, you've been letting someone be rude to you, and you should stop because it makes you weaker
yeah, makes
to let that
sense.
continue.
Yeah, I like the frame. Cool. So we're getting up to the hour now. I
Hmm.
haven't been able to dive into your various
I,
domain of
I'm a big
expertise, which
talker
is
for sure.
uh, no, it's good. So I'm curious around orbit marketing
Yeah.
and your newsletters, and if you just wanted to explain more specifically what you guys do, because if I'm being honest, I looked at your guys' website and I
Hmm.
looked at the video testimonials, and there seems like there's a lot of guys that you are helping deeply, with their service, and it's a valuable service. So, um, I'm yeah curious to hear your ramble on it and what you guys do.
Yeah, the succinct version, something I'll do in like a lot of documentation, I'll be like, here's what this is in one sentence, here's what this is in two sentences, and here's the full thing. And I'll sort of have that same explanation right now. So like in one sentence, or like I'll be like in two words, then a sentence, then two sentences. In two words, it's email marketing, right? In a sentence, it's every business should have some sort of presence on email, and most don't. Therefore, we help do it for them. And then the longer kind of paragraph explanation is that a lot of every all an email newsletter is, right, is an email marketing strategy with clear expectations in a consistent format. Email marketing, like what is marketing? What is email? Well, we know what email is, but all marketing is you have a group of people that you're working on incepting certain ideas in their brain, right? You want them to believe, like you're trying to tell stories, right? You're trying to build associations in their mind. You're trying to build beliefs in their mind because a certain logical series of beliefs builds them to the fact that you're the right thing for them or to drive them towards some conversion actions. Like if we define a newsletter, it's I just defined it again, but a type of email marketing with a consistent format and a clear expectation, building towards some conversion action. And so if we just contextualize it to, let's say, you're a service-based business, you're a marketing agency, you're an accountant, you're a law firm, you're a CFO, whatever, you have a group of people, and your goal is to eventually convert them into customers. That's a very simple situation for a newsletter. And what we do is we write that newsletter for you and we tactically build the right beliefs someone needs to have before they buy from you, right? The simplest way to explain the buyer's journey, in my opinion, is one, problem awareness, right? They have to believe that. So let's go through the example of um, a marketing agency, right? So the problem is I don't have enough leads, right? My business isn't growing fast enough. That's the problem. So someone has to really feel that problem and you have to agitate it. The solution, and so let's say the specific way that you do marketing is you do SEO, right? They have to believe SEO's right. Google isn't dead. SEO still works. SEO will work for my business. And then they have to believe that they shouldn't do it themselves, right? Which is like, I'm too busy. This takes too much time. This is too hard. This is complicated. And then the fourth layer is that you're the right vendor for them, right? So they understand I need more leads. SEO is a real solution. It's too hard to do it by myself. Liam is the right guy to do it for me. And then each of those has components, right? Why is Liam the right person? Because he has experience, he has case studies, he has testimonials, he has a degree, he's friendly, he's smart, whatever. And then the fifth is just like misconceptions and objections. That's just kind of like a catch-all for like ways people get confused. Because like, well, I heard it's illegal. It's like, okay, no, it's not illegal, right? Uh, and so what we do is we try to, through emails, build all of those productive, constructive beliefs that guide people towards being ready to buy from you. And we do that in a done free basis. The most typical way that we do it is a weekly email, and it just creates opportunities to stay top of mind with people and to continue to position yourself favorably and build goodwill with that kind of expanded network of people who could become customers, who could refer you customers, current customers to keep them on board because um, you're continuing to demonstrate how smart you are to them, how much useful information you provide, etc. So yeah, we have like six writers now, full time and growing, and mainly helping agencies, software companies, law firms would probably be the big three. But we're also helping plenty of like financial services, existing media companies, solo creators establish a strong presence over email.
Yeah, I like the way you explain the four is it four beliefs, say? You did say.
Yeah, I'd say there's the four core beliefs, and there's just
Yeah.
general like misconceptions, education, right? Like if you're selling something technical like cybersecurity, like people are just confused about things. And like
Yeah.
if people are confused, they say no. And so you kind of just have to like clear up confusion from time to time.
Um, I'm curious with that, is there, it seems like you serve quite a few different people with newsletters and they're
Mhm.
useful to a wide variety. How have you found the concept of niching down? Because like I've gone back and forth even with the films that I'm wanting
Mhm.
to create. It's like how niche do I go? How not niche do I go? How have you found that process? Because it seems like you're getting customers in, but has there been a specific demographic that you want to hone in on even more, or like how have you found that process?
Yeah, I think we're not ready to like draw a hard line and say we only serve marketing agencies, we only serve law firms, we only serve med spas. I do think we'd be, well served by that at some point. It kind of depends on what our vision is. Like if our vision was to have mixed opinions about it, I think that we've lacked the conviction in one particular demographic to close the door to others. Um, I think there's an argument that we could go SaaS only. There's an argument we could go agency only. I think it's a bit premature to go law firm only. It would be a good idea, because then you service that entire market, then you expand rather than because then your playbooks are really specialized to that segment and you get better results for them because you just know so much subject matter expertise. It is worthy, it's worthwhile. We've just not had the discipline to stop and say and draw a hard line.
Yeah, I've often thought about it though, also with marketing, because if you're serving exactly the same people, then don't they aren't they sometimes in competition with each other? So then it's like you don't want, like say if I'm servicing, if I only service co like say coaches through newsletters
Mhm.
or just law firms, then don't the other law firms go sometimes like, okay, well I don't want the exact same playbook, or like I want to take those guys. Some people will be more competitive and not necessarily like win-win games, but like I want to take those guys out of business. So sometimes I don't know. I've thought about that with the niching very specifically within certain businesses.
Yeah, I mean, if we have estate planning attorneys, which is a very niche type of attorney, we're just only doing estate planning attorneys. I don't totally, and they're not competing and they're competing in the national market versus if we're just helping like estate attorneys win their city, then maybe we just like take one from each city and that's all we can do. That is a real consideration for sure. If what you're selling is like something national, winner take all.
Sweet. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I don't have the clearest picture of exactly like who's listening to this or where they are in their journey. Um, so it's hard to like broadly give advice. I think like, you know, I've said this several times on I guess other podcasts. I'm a big fan of like repetition, hearing something that my goal is not to say things people haven't heard before, ever. That's really like novelty is very overvalued. I don't know about that. Novelty is sometimes valued in the wrong contexts. For me, I find them at my best when, there's like a checklist of like, I've done this as an exercise before. Like what does my life look like when I'm at my best? Because I've been at my best before. Or like everyone has what feels like the best they've ever been and what were the traits about that period of time and like listing them out, right? Like what are those? It's like so for me, it's like a lot of journaling, a lot of reading, a lot of podcasting, meaning like, what does podcasting mean? It means I'm having a lot of conversations with like bright people who I really enjoy the time of and company with. So a lot of conversation, a lot of podcasting, obviously like active dating is a big part of it. Um, Exercising first thing in the morning, eating really healthy. Uh, Alcohol, I'm not like convinced that like it's a better or worse thing, because like I have a lot of fun and I have been better about like the whole timing of everything lately, like keeping it at a certain limit towards like preventing a lot of the downsides. Working on exciting things, right? I'm outside a lot. And so I was gonna say my like blanket recommendation was just to journal more. Is like just like in general, I'm kind of like very bullish on journaling, especially for my brain archetype. It just helps really well clear a lot of the thoughts. But that's I'd say one of my favorite exercises is like when I'm at my best, what are the attributes of my life? Like what is identifiable and repeatable? And it's like, am I going to the gym? Like, so I think for example, for me, the structure of a program like 75 Hard really helps me because when I'm unstructured, right, so Thanksgiving, I don't need to go to the gym today, so I could go tomorrow. So it's like for me, either working with a coach or being on a very specific program for that. Um, I'm in a phase of learning, right? There's for me one of the most important things is like there's a hyper clear goal. So even when I was in the figuring it out phase, one of my projects was like just to read 50 books in a year. I think like at a certain point in your life, that's like for me, at this point, that'd be a lot less constructive than just like there's this meme. It's like how to make more money. And then it's just like do what's on your to-do list. Right. So that's where I'm at right now. It's like if I want to make more money, I just need to get the things done that I know I need to do. And but earlier it was like I don't know anything, so I just need to get knowledge. But still like putting a challenge around it, like give me something useful to do with every moment. Because now it's like I work all the time. I'm the only thing I do is work unless I'm doing something else. Right. It's like if I have plans, like I don't chill. Like if I want to do something fun, I'll just go do something fun. So like I work, but then I take a lot of breaks. Want to go for a dog walk, go for a dog walk. Someone gives me a call, says, "Hey, let's go do this." I say, "Sure, let's go do it." And obviously, I make some plans. But like, if there's nothing to do, I just work because I've got goals that are exciting, and so there's nothing I want to do with downtime more than pursue those goals. So like being in a state in life when there's a goal that is your default what to do with your downtime. There's no question of like, I've got an extra half hour. What should I do? It's like, well, I'll just work on that. It's like the year I was trying to read 52 books. It wasn't 52, it was 26. But the year I was trying to read 26 books, I had 20 minutes. What should I do? I should read. Um, I don't know what to do right now. I might as well read. It's like, oh, I don't have plans for tonight. Might as well work. Um, and again, then I still put in like, I don't want that to sound really nihilistic. It's like I still have systems. It's like if I still like making sure I'm getting out of the house every day. But it's like if I hit like five good social plans this week, and it's like tonight, do I really need to do something, or could I just work towards this goal that like I'm very intrinsically motivated to achieve? So anyway, that's part of my checklist. Is like there's a hyper clear goal that if I want it to be all consuming, it can be. And so for me, it's like splitting to a specific revenue goal. Like there's a specific revenue goal. I'd say we're like I don't know how to do the quick maths, at least like 80% of the way there. And so I want to just like blitz to that goal. Um, and it's like okay, then after that, come up with the next one because where I'm always like waiting and kind of like messing, like where I feel like I'm again waffling or treading water or like feel like I have this kind of angst and wasted time is anytime I don't have that hyper consuming goal. So even if it's something basic, like I want to learn, I want to get like 100 hours of piano practice in. It's like then you can just like go do that thing with your downtime. Just like having something that is just a default exciting thing to do, even if it's stupid. Like I know if it's being stupid, but like even if it's arbitrary, like even if it's a game on your phone, it's like a blackjack game, and you want to like run up the blackjack game to like a million fake dollars because that means like you've got playable blackjack skills. Just having like some obsessive goal you can have 24/7, or like my dog, like I want my dog to be extremely trained. Having just that, I wanted to learn these 10 tricks. Having something that is just a dominating goal prevents you from bad tendencies. Like, oh, just I guess I'll scroll Twitter. Because like when I don't have the goals, then I'm just like, oh, I might as well just watch Netflix, scroll Twitter, make some junk food versus like I got a program, I'm on the program. Like I am so obsessed with getting this goal by this time right now.
Yeah, I feel for me, I don't, I always had that with tennis for a long time and then transitioning to something else, finding something else. But that I find so useful, which is sometimes why I found even giving myself challenges on holidays, because sometimes I'll
Yeah.
notice on holidays I would kind of get sometimes a bit, to be honest, a bit depressed because I would
Hmm.
be like, or like even when I'm supposed to be resting on like a weekend or a Sunday, then I just wake up, I'm like, what do I do? You know? And I
Exactly.
think I find that feeling more scary, even for me, if it was like rest, okay, I'm gonna do like 3 hours of meditation, or I'm gonna do like XYZ challenge that is quite exciting to me. So I really
Even just like watching
like
a
that.
good movie, like having a list of like good movies you want to watch, then you're like still chipping away at something. It's like I'm watching great cinema. Like I don't know, it just feels like it's
Yeah,
rather
on that one, I found that that specific point, what I did with films, because I was wanting to learn around variety. I had a chat with a friend, and I was like, okay, I want to create like the ultimate list because I've got like a week where I want to have
Mhm.
a break and just study cinema. I got a film from each continent, and then
Oh, that's
each
cool.
different time in like three different time periods. So from like modern to
Yeah.
these like early 1900s, and then went through that. I found that very, for me, it kind of gave me like the permission to just chill and relax, but also
Yep.
it was like I'm learning something and I'm enjoying. I actually prefer this than just like flicking it on
Mhm.
and then just having decision paralysis around what should I watch
Yeah, then
now?
you just
What's a
watch
good
like
thing?
Mr. Beast, right? And then say, okay, well that was not super
Yeah,
useful.
yeah.
Or it's like same thing with a downtime and say, all right, today I'm just gonna like even just like on a rest day, like, okay, it's a rest day. I'm not doing anything, but I'm not gonna spend any time at home. Like then you're at least
Mm.
out, you're at least taking a walk, you're at least outside. It's like I can do whatever I want today as long as I'm not at home. Because then I'm
Yeah.
just gonna like whatever. So I like putting even some structure and intention behind leisure is a huge, huge enhancing thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thanks, Lewis. I've thoroughly enjoyed the podcast.
Always a pleasure,
And
Liam. Appreciate you having me.
yeah, pleasure. And if anyone wanted to get hold of you or reach out to you or connect with Orbit Marketing, how would they do it?
Yeah, Orbit Marketing. We're orbitmarketing.io. Myself, Louis Shulman. I get a lot of like messages from a lot of random people. But if you say something like "I listen to you on Liam's podcast," then I will see that and I'll be like, ah, okay, someone I should respond to. Versus if it's like I will get you 5 meetings a month using, I'm like, okay, this is a sales pitch. But if it's like I listened to you on Liam's podcast and I enjoyed it and I had this question for you or whatever, I will then it'll make it through the noise. LinkedIn's probably the best place for that. Twitter's fine. Instagram's fine. They're all Lewis Shulman. Some of them might be like Shulman Lewis, like Instagram is Shulman first, Lewis last. But Google's great for me. I've got it down. Lewis Shulman on Google. You'll find the right one.
Awesome. And yeah, let me know if you've done any of Lewis's challenges or experiments. I'd love to know how they went or what happened for you. But uh, yeah, until next time, thank you so much for listening, everyone, and bye for now.